Honey, we need to chat.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Honey.
We need to chat every time. Every time. I do
We
it.
love it.
If you know, you know.
I don't even know, but that's
It's
fine.
from the Lego movie.
Where's my pants?
Yeah.
Okay, now I
now
get it.
you know
Now I
for
get
the
it.
second time. All right. Yes. Welcome back to Honey, We Need to Chat, the podcast all about communication in relationships. We believe that when communication dies, bad things happen. So we chat.
We chat about
We
it.
chat with you guys and we bring you in on that process. And right now, we want to ask you if you would pause your listening, only temporarily, come back, but pause your listening and make sure you followed us on all the platforms. Most
it.
importantly,
Yeah.
YouTube. And I'm going to throw Instagram in there too. We're Honey, We Need to Chat on every platform, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Get on it.
We also have a website with lots of free resources. So if you are ever thinking, oh, I really want to just do something light and easy to maybe upskill your relationship, hop on the website. There's a bunch of free things you guys can do together. So do that right now, please. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. Thanks for doing that, guys.
Oh, wow. That
All
was so
right.
quick. You guys were so fast.
We have so much stuff in this episode, and full disclosure, I have a Hillary Duff waiting. What's it called? Queue thing
Yeah.
on the screen behind because I really want to get tickets. So we're going to go real fast.
Yeah. We've got time pressures.
Anyway, yes, welcome back. We are glad that you're here with us this week.
Mm-hmm.
To start us off, we're going to dive right in.
Would you rather?
Would you rather?
I
Blair
have a
loves the
button.
power that he's got.
I have a
with
button.
buttons.
All right, that was very quiet. I need to turn that volume up next time. All right, I have prepared these and came up with these all by myself and the computer. Would you rather your partner always wears matching couple outfits with you without asking, or your partner always refers to you as the boss in front of your parents?
Ooh, which one? Which one? Such good options.
When I wrote this, though, when I copied and pasted it, I actually saw it the other way. I'm like, would you rather call me the boss?
In front of my parents?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's funny. This isn't as funny, but do my one. It's funny.
I think the boss one because I don't like thinking that much about clothes.
Yeah, true.
Although if you're doing it and you just watch me and somehow manage to match me every day, that'd be kind of cute.
Yeah. Well, unless it depends what you wear.
Next
one. Would you rather your partner always forgets your birthday but gives you $500? It's $500. Or your partner always remembers your birthday but only gives you a gift they clearly stole from a hotel room.
Wow, there's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
I would rather you always remember and not give me any gift. But if it requires you to have stolen something, I think I'm going to have to go with you forget and
Really?
give me $500. You would rather
$500.
You'd rather I steal something from a hotel?
No, I want $500.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Would you rather have a partner who treats every waiter like a long lost friend with hugs and all?
I know the kind.
Or a partner who treats every waiter like a suspect in a crime with intense eye contact?
Is that
That's your phone.
Is the screen still on?
No. We are here still. We did a thing. Well, when I say we did a thing,
We did a thing.
Amy did a thing. Share us the thing that you did, Ames.
Well, yesterday, as we were going through the very funny Would You Rathers, my phone alarm started going off. And suddenly I realized, have I got a meeting? And I did.
And we paused it.
And if you knew how complicated it was to fit in the recording yesterday, it was not nice to have that.
It was actually really nice. So I went downhill very fast after that. I was quite sick. I laid down for a little bit and I fell asleep before recording. I go, dude, I don't know how I'm going to record. And sat down and I just wasn't feeling great. We got into it. Then we had that saving grace of you forgetting to check your calendar. And then I literally just crashed again.
Yeah,
I was down and out. I really struggled. So it was actually a blessing in disguise. So anyway, I thought I would dress in the same clothes so you wouldn't notice. But then we brought it up. I'm in the same clothes, even this shirt, except for my shoes, actually.
That's definitely why you dressed in the same clothes.
No, absolutely. And well, I was going to change my shirt because my shirt has toothpaste on it. I can't because then the toothpaste wins. So I've got to wear this shirt, even though it's got toothpaste on it from yesterday.
And it was a saving grace in more than one way, because what you didn't know, or maybe I had said this, I had a Hillary Duff waiting room.
Yeah, I think you did say it. Yeah,
I think I did say it, on the screen behind the camera. And I was like, oh, I don't really know how I'm going to fit in booking tickets. But turned out I could do it while I was in my meeting.
You sabotaged that recording, didn't you?
And I got them.
Yeah, exciting.
Anyway, so yes, that's if you haven't.
That's for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
It's not stopping.
Okay.
They're very enthusiastic.
If you have not watched this and you've been listening, you would not have known necessarily that there was a massive jolt in the recording. But now you know. That's what
we didn't want to leave it out because we're like, don't want to record that again. It was only 5 minutes or something.
It was actually good would you rather. So yeah.
But I'm not finished.
I know.
I've got two more.
I'm
and
excited because I need to break the ice again.
Yeah, well, one of them. Anyway, okay, next one. We're going to dive straight into it. So next one, would you rather have a partner who treats every waiter like a long-lost best friend, including hugs, or a partner who treats every waiter like a suspect in a crime? Maybe this is what I was up to, then your alarm went off.
Yeah.
Including intense eye contact.
With the crime one?
With the crime one.
Or the best friend one?
Oh, both. Let's go both. They're different intenses.
Definitely the best friend. But like, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, but the crime one would be funny.
It would be funny.
Okay, that's all I had to say. Anyway, no, wrong one. There we go. All right, cool. Would you rather your partner yell, "Huzzah, my noble steed," every time you finish a sentence, or yell, "The prophecy is fulfilled," every time you enter a room?
The second one, 100%.
I seriously giggled so much when I put this one down, even just reading it before. My noble steed.
If you said "Huzzah, my noble steed" every time I came in the room, that would be also hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man, I can just see so many people getting slaps for doing that.
That is
But that's what I had. I had
the
fun.
prophecy one.
Yeah,
but both would be
the
good.
noble steed one was funny for me.
Huzzah, my noble steed. All right, well, there we go. Ice has been broken twice now.
Broken.
Tell us what you would rather.
Yeah,
and we want to hear.
I've loved it on our socials too. People getting like writing on our socials because we put these on our socials as well.
Yeah. Well, today we're diving into a topic that has a lot to it, and I'm actually kind of glad we're recording today because we've got slightly more time than we did yesterday, and there's a lot to it. But we're talking about what happens when you love your partner, but you just don't like their friends. And it's a tricky dynamic for so many reasons. So we're going to dive into this and navigate how that might play out. And we've got a number of Reddit stories to back up this conversation. So interestingly, like last week's one, this is a very, very common theme on Reddit. And I, again, had no issues finding stories because so many people had submissions about having an issue with their partner's friends, or the flip side of that, their friends having an issue with their partner, or their partner's friends having an issue with them. So there's so many different spins on this and so many different layers at play. But we thought we would dive into it because what do you do when you don't like your partner's friends?
Tell me. Educate me.
Well, let me educate you.
Before we do that, which one of my friends do you not like? By name.
Which friends do you have?
Remember that one episode last week where I talked about this very traumatic time?
You're welcome. So firstly, I want to talk about why this is such a common and difficult thing to navigate. And it's because friendships, and this is going to sound so obvious, are important. And so are relationships. Friendships represent identity, history, loyalty, shared memories, and a version of somebody from the past, especially when they're long-standing friendships. And a lot of the time, they predate the actual romantic relationship as well. So you often inherit your partner's friends or partner's community to some extent.
Yeah.
So it is extremely tricky because of these things that friendships represent in your life. So if your partner has an issue with your friend and they criticize it or they bring it up and they name it, it can be extremely complicated emotionally too, because it feels like you are criticizing their judgment or their character or their past or who they used to be. And it's also mixed in with these weird fears that come along. So if if I was to say to Blair, I really just don't like this friend. You've known them for forever, but I just don't like that friend. You're not just like, it's not a easy peasy thing to navigate. You're navigating the connection you have, the history you have with them, the input that they've had, your memories together. And if I was to be saying that to you, there's fears that come with that conversation from a partner, because you might be thinking, if I pull away from this friendship group, I'm going to lose a huge part of my identity. I'm going to lose a huge part of my influence. I might be replaced by other people. We might drift apart and lose that connection we've had. There's a fear of control that can come in. And that's why this is a tricky one, because in a relationship, one of the red flags is if you start to date somebody or you start to be in a relationship with someone and then you start to isolate from the other people in your lives, that's actually not a good sign a lot of the time. And so you have to weigh up like the input from these different people. A fear of isolation might be at play too, because what happens if that's your closest friend group and they're not constructive for you? How do you make new friends? We've spoken about that so many times on the podcast. It's hard as adults to make new friends. And so the idea of having to do that is really overwhelming, and the fear of isolation can come in. So there's so many layers at play.
Yeah, there's a level too though, like where it's like, okay, cool, you do have that history, you do have that identity, but why, what do I rely on that friend for? Right. So if there's an element where it's like, well, I actually feel safe with that person. I feel, I go to that person when I struggle with X, Y, Z. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's those things too. It's like, what value does that person have in that? What do I have
exactly
in that relationship, if that makes sense? And it's like, that's part of the grief. There's grief involved with that too, which is grief is a whole other level.
Yeah. There's grief for so many different parts of it, like grief, even just that you're having the conversation, even just that your partner is not gelling with someone else that's really important to you. And then, if there's things that need to be put in place, that's a whole other level of grief. So yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side, as the partner who has concerns about the friendship group or the friends around their partner, they'll be like, is this my future? Like if they're concerned about this influence in their partner's life, is this my future? Is this going to be a divide between us that just grows and grows? Maybe they feel like they're not included in their partner's life. If this area is kind of off limits to them, or it's not something that feels safe or constructive, that's a separation in your relationship. And then navigating, like, I don't want to be controlling. I don't want to tell them what to do, but I also don't want to not say anything because it's really important. And feeling like you're the villain if you do say those things, voice those things, or like pull yourself back if it's needed. Feeling unheard or unprotected as well. I think that plays out a lot with, you see this in a lot of the stories on Reddit with family in-laws as well. If your partner is struggling with your family in-law, that relationship is complicated. And if you don't have a teamwork vibe between you and your partner, it can make you feel like you're not protected or safe or heard. And then also just feeling like you're ranking below someone who doesn't like you or who's not a good vibe. The other thing that is really complicated when it comes to friendships and navigating these things is we don't see examples of friendship breakups. Like it just doesn't happen that much. You see examples.
It does happen.
But you see examples of big blow ups, like big like, friends have a massive issue and then in the movies and stuff, they always seem to come back together or whatever. We know what romantic breakups look like. Like that's a common thing you see, you hear about, that kind of thing. When you're navigating friendships and the potential of needing to move away from them or change the dynamic, I don't think we're taught how to navigate that very well.
Yeah. Well, with that too, though, it becomes awkward, right? So if you're friends, like you see regularly, and then all of a sudden you've got to stop, you're also putting your partner, like, and you're the one that's like, I don't like your friends. Well, now you've put me in a position where I've got to now navigate that load.
Who do you please?
I mean? Yeah. Well, exactly right. But it's like, well, obviously I want to please you. So, but now I have to navigate through this whole sticky thing. Like when they get offended, I'm the one that has to deal with that. When they're the ones that are hurt, I have to deal with that. When I see them down the street, I have to deal with that. Like there's so much of the levels that I would have to deal with. It's not just just stop now.
It's not an easy thing.
No.
And that's what all of this context has been in here to say. And this is like vaguely summarizing the patterns that I saw on the Reddit stories. It is not easy. It's complex and something that I think a lot of people navigate in different ways. So we don't have a great framework to navigate it. And that's why we're talking about it today. There's a story that I have heard recently that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was a good example of this. And it was that there's this really close group of guy friends that have been friends for a long time before this relationship started. And they have a very clear pattern of what they do together when they catch up. They've also got like quite regular scheduled like every year expectations. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do kind of thing. So it's like a very set community friendship kind of thing. And I was hearing the story about one of the couples in this group that was the wife who was added after the friendship group started really just doesn't engage with the group. She's always kind of had an attitude. There was stories kind of going around about her and like, oh, she doesn't really like us or she doesn't really care about us. And she just kind of was removed, didn't really look that engaged. She'd come to things, but just not really friendly and not really enjoying the vibe. And I think her partner had kind of given pieces of information for this as well, indicating that she didn't really like him spending so much time with them and all of this sort of stuff. The group was kind of concerned about this because they're like, what's her issue with us? She doesn't even really engage with us. She seems really controlling. And they kind of had his back and were like, she's just kind of not into this stuff and she's controlling. And it was like a negative vibe towards her. And when I was hearing this story, I was like, I feel like there's more to it. Yeah. And there's not always. Sometimes there are people that just have a negative vibe. But in this situation, I was like, yeah, but no one really knows her personally before this group. And so all they're hearing is their good friend share about how his partner doesn't really like the group and doesn't really like him doing these things and is a bit sus about him going on these weekends and all of this sort of stuff. And it just recently came out that he is very unwell. And one of the reasons he's so unwell is because he's drinking too much. And that was one of her main concerns is whenever they go away, they drink a lot of alcohol. It's like kind of a party weekend. Obviously, there's a pattern that happens outside of this at home and all of these other things like that have inputted into his health issues. So for one thing, she's been dealing with a partner that hasn't been in a healthy space. There's a lot of things going on there. And he's doing regular habits on his own as well that are not helpful for him. And then his closest friends are a group of people that do this stuff together. Yeah.
And that when you share that, I'm like, oh man, like I actually feel for her in that scenario.
100%.
Because I was like, oh, he's not looking after himself. And so she has to put those boundaries in place for him to look after himself because of these issues. And then his friends look at her as being the one with the problem because he can't step up and deal with, I don't know. There's one thing about, it's not like, oh, now you're on your own to this guy. No, but if you put that on your partner to be the one to actually deal with that, like, I don't know, that's down a different rabbit hole there, but yeah.
But I thought it was a really good example of this because there was a legitimate reason why she had a concern about his friend group and how they navigate it, the conversation they've had, the way it plays out. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I've got no idea the tone and their communication and everything like that, whatever. But she had legitimate reason for concern of him hanging out with this group purely because of what they do together, not because of the group.
Yeah,
not because
it's
of
a health issue.
It's his thing, and because of his thing, the friendship group wasn't a healthy group for him. And so when the friends didn't know about that, they were like, what's her problem? Like, this is so weird. She's just come in, she doesn't like us, and blah blah blah. And I can understand that perspective too, because it's not their responsibility. They didn't know about this. It's not their responsibility to make sure all of those things are healthy, and they're not even doing anything wrong necessarily. Yeah. And so I thought it was a really good example of it's not always because someone is a horrible person that you don't like that friend group. It's not always clear cut. It's not always this girl doesn't like them, so the guy has to get out of the group or anything like that. It's so layered, and there could be a huge range of reasons why at different seasons in your life, certain friendships or certain communities are not going to be as healthy for you or for your marriage or for your family as they would be before.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be because that group of people is a horrible group of people. It's very layered and it's very complicated. And it matters who you spend time with.
Absolutely. And this is where Amy and I have really assessed this in our own lives too, right? So we heard this saying on socials or something where it was like, show us your 5 closest friends and we'll show you your future kind of thing. And we really got affected by that because we're like, it's so true, man. Like, what do we want in our future? And who's actually around us to help us achieve that? So one of the things that we have is that we want this podcast to be a legitimate business. We want It's coaching to be a legitimate business. So we need to be around people that have businesses, that are entrepreneurs, that are growing stuff, right? We need to be around that for that to be us to learn from and also motivate us too. When you're around those people and you hear what they're doing to get to that next level on their businesses, it's inspiring and you want to do that too, right? And as well for us, like if we're not at church regularly, like we see that. We see our disciplines drop. We see our passions drop. We see our motivation drop. And so for us, we're at church every single week where possible, because we know we need that for us to really own and drive forward in a passionate and real way. So that's been really cool for us to really assess. And we're even talking to our kids as well about this as well with their friendship groups at school, because kids are kids, they'll go through this stuff. But what we're trying to encourage them is like, well, who are the people that matter in regards to who you want to be in the future? Like we're talking to them about what sort of a person do you want to be in the future, and who are you seeing that in your friendship circle, and how are you actually aiming to spend time with them? And so, it's only been little chats because they're young, but we still try and bring that through to all of our family. And so just to be very clear, though, it's not like, you need specifically 5 people around you and they're the 5 people that are going to influence you the most, whatever. It's not that, but the general premise behind it is like who you surround yourself with is going to be influencing you. So there's some research behind this. I'm actually going to read it so I get it right, because I'm terrible with memorizing things. So social contagion research is the body of studies showing that behaviors, emotions, and attitudes spread through social networks much like a virus. Researchers like Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler found that things such as smoking, obesity, happiness, and even divorce risk increase or decrease depending on what the people around you are doing. That the idea isn't that your friends control you, but that repeated exposure to certain norms subtly shifts what feels normal, acceptable, or desirable over time. Influence spreads through proximity. Yeah. It's so important. Like, all these things, like when I was smoking, when I wasn't around smokers, I was so aware that I was smoking. You know what I mean? Like, but when I was smoking and there was other smokers, I was very unaware that I was smoking. It was just the thing that you did, right? Yeah. It wasn't really an intentional action that I took. It's just you did it because it's just what we were doing. But as soon as I was around people that weren't smoking, like super aware.
Yeah, the awareness is an interesting part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it's subconscious.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another one is normative influence is a social psychology concept that explains how we adjust our behavior to fit in with the people around us. We're wired for belonging, so we subconsciously adopt the norms, language, and habits of our group. There's actually research on this. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch ran this experiment where there's a group of people, they were meant to measure like a line length, right? And most people in the room were lying, like they were told to lie. That was their task, was to lie on how long. They were part of the experiment, and they were to lie on how long the line was. And then the people that weren't in on the experiment and they were given the actual right answer, they went along with the lie because they were so caught up in the social pressure of like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Like I must be wrong. Like they must be right. So I've just got to do what they say so I can fit in. It's actually really true. When I became a Christian, I was still quite rough on around the edges. I didn't come from that church world much. And then I went overseas on a missions trip, and I was so obvious to me that like all my flaws and all the things, like the words that I would use or the way that I would say them. And I was like, I didn't even know if what they were saying on the mission trip, if it was true or not. I'm like, well, they said it, so I just got to say it. Yeah. And then I started reading the Bible for myself, and I'm like, hang on a minute, like this isn't right? But yeah, that I had all this pressure to just copy what everyone else was saying.
Internal pressure.
Internal pressure to just copy what everyone else was saying because I was so scared of being found out that I didn't know the right answer.
So you were adapting to their way of speaking.
Yeah. And I had no real clue of why they were saying stuff. It was very Christianese language, right? Yeah. And, you and I speak a lot about how we don't like Christianese. But it was that. And so I just started using their words. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. I have no idea, but I've got to do it because you're doing it and we're in this environment and... Yeah.
I think kids are a really good example of that. We see that all the time. They just
absolutely
watch the people around them and start to do the things that they're like.
Even believe them. Like our kids would come home and like, my friend said that this is truth, and we're like, dude, that's not even a real thing. Wrong. Like it's like that's like make believe stuff, whatever. But they're so convinced because their friends have said this stuff that it's real.
Exactly. There's another concept called emotional contagion. And that's the idea that emotions spread between people, even without us noticing, which I 100% feel. So research shows that we subconsciously mirror facial expressions, tone, and energy of the people around us and can actually shift our mood. So if you're regularly around people who are cynical, anxious, angry, or dismissive, that tone can slowly become your baseline. And the same is true for people in a positive direction. So optimism, calm, and warmth. And that is so true. And that's one of the reasons, like when Blair was talking about our business, it's not just being around people that are entrepreneurial and like to start and create things for the practical side of it. It's also this like those people, not always, but tend to have this kind of growth mindset or like opportunistic or like opportunity based view of life.
Yeah.
Rather than,
like
and like I
attitude.
can do. Yeah. Like, or I could try at least rather than, oh no, I couldn't try at all. And so that was actually for me, at least the most important shift in attitude that I wanted to be around. I just wanted to be around people that were in that kind of attitude because it started to rub off on us.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's so true. If you think about your house, I think about this all the time when I'm cracking it at the kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, what tone am I just putting over the house? And I'll crack it and then be like, oh my gosh, Amy, what are you doing? And I'll see one of our kids go off and then crack it the same way I just have or with the same kind of vibe. And then I'll be like, stop talking to your sibling that way. And then I'm thinking, you're talking like that because you just saw me talk like that.
Yeah. And you're talking to them right now in the same way.
Yeah.
Like I'll get cranky at them in the way that they were cranky at their sibling, for being cranky at their sibling that way. And I'm literally talking to them in that moment the exact same way.
Yeah. And you can see it really clearly. I remember going to people's houses as a kid for a play date. And then I just walk in and be like, this house has a different vibe. And it was like a calm, peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, what a strange vibe. And we had someone over for a play date the other day who just did not cope well in our
chaos.
vibe.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, and I said to her, you know what, girl? I think our house is a bit chaotic for you. And she's like, yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was good chaotic.
It was good chaos, but just a lot.
Our kids are crazy and loud and busy and we love it. But for some people, it's a lot.
Yeah. Even the mess. Yeah. So you can see how these things influence. And this is why it's an important conversation. It's not just to be nitpicky and control-y and say that friends aren't important and relationships are. Friends are actually so important. Community is so important. It's more important than I think we give it credit for. And that's why this is an important conversation to have.
And this really builds on our last week's episode where we talk about social load. Yeah. And so it's about, I actually caught up with a mate of mine that watched the episode from last week. And he was talking about how much that resonated with him, about you get into COVID really brought this out in a lot of people, this social anxiety to just go and meet people. And we just really related to each other on that level of like, yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. But for me, like I am naturally just such a social person. And for years, I just wasn't getting that. And it wasn't like, oh, that's someone else's fault or problem. It was like, it's not a fault or problem, it's a situation. And so a lot of the conversations that we're bringing up here is to encourage you to have that conversation because 90% of the time, and that's a stat that I just pulled out of my head, don't quote me on that. But a lot of the time, it's really just there's actually underlining things that are going on for either you or your partner. And the conversation helps create that safe space to grow in that underlining thing. So, and that's what we did. And then, being able to relate to someone else is so special because like you then I spoke to my mate this week about it and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not the only one, and it just removes so much of that pressure on you to be a certain way. It helps you to understand that the expectations you might have on yourself are unrealistic in the season that you're in. And that is completely fine. You're in the season that you're in, but how do you navigate through that season? You keep the expectations as a goal, not as something that you're like, I need to do this right now. I need to be this person. It's like, no, well, how are you working to be that person in the future? Don't have that expectation that you just got to be it now.
Yeah. I really wanted to say 90% of the time works every time.
90% of the time works every time.
And we ask this question on the podcast a lot, which is where do you want to be in 5 years' time? And it's a good kind of reframe or like a jogging of your brain, anyway, to try and get you to think outside of the box and think longer term picture. So if you're sitting here and thinking, yeah, to be fair, I don't actually think the people around me are encouraging me to be a better version of myself and to work towards the things I want to see in 5 years' time. It's a good way of checking that.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I don't want to be stuck in, bitter loops, or I don't want to be stuck in victim mentality, or I don't want to be around people whose habits are actually just encouraging me, regardless of the quality of that person, just for your sake, our habits are encouraging me the way I don't want to go. So it's a good check for that. And I have this, I always think about takeaway. I don't know. I always think about it because I love it. No, that's probably what it is, to be honest. Yeah. But it comes up. Yummy. I feel like it comes up.
What's that
It's from New Girl.
Yeah.
No,
don't quote it. Don't quote it. Don't quote it.
It's our favorite scene of the whole show.
I just remembered it. Oh, no.
No.
Sidetracked. Go.
Come back to me with facts and figures. Yeah. Anyway, takeaway pops up as an analogy for me for a lot of different things. I don't know why. I do know why. And I think it's this way.
Get it out of my head.
So if you get fast food takeaway, whatever you want to call it, every now and then, you often I find almost every single time, unless it's like we've got a salad place. That's the only one I don't feel gross after. But everything else.
Sushi.
Oh, sushi, yeah. Everything else I feel pretty disgusting after I've eaten it. And so if I had that every single day, and there have been times where, not takeaway necessarily, but you can tell you've like not eaten well. And you get to the end of a fortnight or something and you're like, I just feel heavy and yuck and I just need an apple. I'll eat an apple and go stand on grass. That's my thing. If I feel really gross. And so if you're eating gross,
such a specific thing. I eat an apple and I stand on grass.
I stand on grass because it's what's it called?
Nature
it's grounding me and the outdoor air, and I've got the apple. Anyway, that's what I do. But that feeling of having too much stuff that's not nutritious. It's not helpful, but it's not horrible. So if you have it every now and then, it might serve you. It gives you quick food. It gives you a different thing to your routine. But if you have it all the time, you feel disgusting. And I think of that when I think of this example of show me the 5 people around you or whatever. You know that if you're not feeling life from your community, then probably you're having too much takeaway in your friendship group. Probably there's too many instances of people not feeding you in a healthy way in that group. And so if you're feeling that kind of like, I just don't feel uplifted and like challenged and strengthened, and I don't come away from my engagements with my friends and think, oh, I feel better, or I feel heard, or I feel seen, encouraged, whatever. I just come away feeling more yucky, then that's probably a good test to be like, maybe there's an out of balance thing. Doesn't mean that every single one of your close relationships has to constantly be positive and right and good and whatever word you want to put in there, because that's not life.
Yeah.
And some of my most life-giving friendships are pretty raw. Like they're pretty raw in terms of like, we don't talk about butterflies and flowers and all of that sort of stuff. We talk about pretty raw, real things, but it gives me life because it encourages me in the long run.
Absolutely. I was saying again to my mate this week that I caught up with, I'm like, man, like for friendships, like I love the shallow banter and all that, but it only so far.
Yeah.
From there, I'm like, all right, but if that's where we stay, the value of that friendship becomes less and less. And it's like, I need to go deep. I'm a deep thinker. I love to unpack my stuff and grow as a person, whatever else. And if I don't have people around me that want to do that, I just lose interest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly. All right. So on that note, let's dive into some Reddit stories and we'll just quickly workshop them because we've already had a whole life before these in the episode. 2 from yesterday as well.
That's right.
So the first story that I found, the theme is disrespect and boundary violations. So the title was, I hate my partner's best friend. I've been in a relationship for 2 years and we even live together now. We've gone through some issues in the past that have affected the way I feel about his friends. I've tried to keep my mind open and be empathetic with their circumstances, but I've reached my limit. His best friend quit his job around a year ago, and even though he's been looking and gotten some of them, he quits not long after starting. He's gone deep into depression, which has led him to constantly visiting our house and drinking until 2 a.m. I recently told my boyfriend I would not allow this anymore since it happens every week and I want to be able to enjoy my house without having to entertain someone that I don't like. I know I sound like a jerk right now, but the best friend is constantly making jokes about my boyfriend and him being meant for each other and me being the one who separated them. When my partner and I started talking about getting married, he joked about him and my boyfriend being the ones who would be getting married in secret and me being the other woman. He constantly insists he's known him longer than me and that makes him more important in his life, so I've grown tired of him. He's also in a relationship, so he brings his girlfriend each time he visits, and they argue whenever they're here, which stresses me out. His girlfriend also joins in on the jokes about him and my partner, and she's really misogynistic, as is the best friend. I truly cannot tolerate them anymore, so I told my partner they're no longer welcome at our home. I don't feel bad about it. I'm just fed up and don't want to put up with it anymore.
It makes sense. Like, I get that. But at the end of it too, like, she hasn't mentioned any of the conversations that she's had leading up to that drawing the line part. And how, you know, like if I genuinely knew the toll something was having on you, because like if I put myself in that situation, actually, my friend is going through depression and stuff. I want to be there for them, right? I want to help them. I want to care for them. If my place is a safe space, like that's awesome. I'll be honored by that. But it's that balance of, yeah, but you're my partner. Yeah. You know, you're my wife. And so it is a balance of how do I do that, but also be there for you, because by him being there for his friend, he's actually neglecting his partner.
Yeah. And she doesn't feel safe or like comfortable in her own space. Yeah. It is hard because we all have seasons, and you'll see this in your relationship. Like you have seasons where one person is going to be probably more mentally resilient than the other. And we've had that with burnouts and different things going on. So you have seasons, and friendships are the same. You have seasons in friendships. And so I'd be curious to know what he was like before this like year-long depression thing that he's going through. And I guess it's hard because she's only been around for 2 years. So she maybe doesn't even know him from then.
2 years is not a short time though.
No, it's not. Like, no, it's not a short time. But like, again, it's the predating of the relationship. Yeah. So like, these guys are best friends. Who knows what brought them together and what made their friendship strong back then. Maybe she hasn't even observed that firsthand. Yeah. And so if she's struggling with his vibe and doesn't have that context, it would be even harder to understand the friendship and be like, why are we doing this? Why is he here all the time? He's not even trying. It's also mental health is wild in terms of the impact it has on how you navigate things. So him starting jobs and then quitting soon after, that checks out to me. If he's in a crisis at the moment and he's not managing well, it checks out. That's not necessarily ongoing behavior. It's just what he's navigating. It could be just what he's navigating right now.
I think too, though, is like, well, what are they feeding? You know, like, so if he's struggling with mental health battles or whatever else, right? And you're just providing the alcohol and the space. Yeah. Okay, that's not even really a Band-Aid, you know, it's just fueling a situation. So I think that's really important. You know, we can't save everyone, but even the ones that we do try to save, are we saving them? Yeah. You know, are we actually helping them? And from the little that we know of this story, it doesn't sound like much is being done from their side. All they're doing is creating the space. Sometimes that's all you can do, and I get that. But at the same time, when we do have friends, and even if our listener now is in that place themselves, it's really, you know, we really need to look at that situation and take the responsibility to see, well, where do I go from here? Yeah. Like, how do I not just stay here and be stuck in this place? How do I move through it? Because again, seasons are legitimate things, but the seasons to be worked through, not for you to stay in. It's for a period of time. And you want to use that season to make you grow stronger, not for you to be stuck in.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely asking, what are you inputting into this? Yeah. And yes, that makes sense early on that would be all you could really provide, but you don't want to fall into a pattern. I guess it's similar to the example I gave earlier, where if this is the pattern of the group is just this, how do you support someone who's not going to be supported through that? Yeah. So if it's just staying up late on its own, I don't know how regularly they do it, but that's a lot on your body and your mental health, and then drinking as well. And then what's the conversation like? Are you encouraging them? Are you being a person who makes them feel better, or are you just staying there with them? Yeah. One of the other important parts is she doesn't feel respected by him. Yeah. His jokes and his behavior don't seem respectful of her. And that's really important to weigh up when you're the partner who's friends with this guy. What's the boundary? Where's the boundary where you're like, actually, that's no longer okay. I can't have you in my space. And so I think there is conversations they need to have. It does seem like she's drawn a pretty sharp line.
Yeah. Because I think that the other thing too, though, is like part of the conversation could be more again, this is where he needs to step up in this as well, like her partner, where it's where's the defending of that?
Yeah.
You know, it's the undermining, it's the putting down, it's the, you know, if someone was to undermine my relationship with you, like I wouldn't like that. Like, you know, when it was a constant thing, if there's a once-off joke or twice-off joke, whatever, like, you know, whatever. But that's special to me. You know what I mean? Like that's my safe. It's not even just that they're in my house. It's also my relationship, the most safe relationship that I have too. And well, it's meant to be the safest relationship that I have. So it's really intruding into more areas than just one and more sanctuaries than just one, you know?
Yeah. And I think the problem isn't the friend. The key is her partner.
Yeah.
So that conversation needs to be had. She can't change the friend. She can't change her partner. All she can do is communicate what's going on for her and change her own responses. But the friend really isn't her concern in terms of changing his behavior. She needs to be able to communicate to her partner and be heard about what's making her feel unsafe, what's making her feel disrespected. And the partner is the one responsible for the behavior that goes on around there. All right. So next one is, I don't fit into my partner's friends group. I need your help, or maybe I just need someone to read my thoughts really quickly. I've been dating a really great guy for a while now, and just about everything is going really well. He has a large, tight-knit group of friends, tight-knit meaning they see each other multiple times a week if they can. The group is made up of several married couples, and everyone is very close to each other, like physically and emotionally affectionate, almost to the point that it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. My issue right now is that all the wives are all very close with my boyfriend's ex. For context, he and his ex are not friendly and don't speak to each other. Her still being in the same circle bothers him as well, for what it's worth. When I'm around the women especially, I get the feeling I'm not really welcome in the group because they're so close with the ex. Sometimes I'll go to a big group event and the women don't acknowledge me at all. They'll only talk to my boyfriend without even looking at me. I'm a bit insecure in general, but it's becoming a real sore spot to the point where I truly dread these bigger gatherings where I feel completely invisible. I'm naturally introverted with a low social battery, which doesn't help at all. The ex and the wives all just went on a trip together, and while I understand that that's just what friends do, I worry that I'll never fully fit into this group and will always feel like an unwanted outsider. Do I just be patient and wait this out? I'm so bothered by this situation and don't want to feel terrible every time I see them. They're so important to my boyfriend that I want to just fit in. Thanks for reading.
Yeah, that's a hard one because, again, that's a whole other life that they're not a part of, you know, and it's sort of like intruding into that. Some things you just can't win. You know, in my mind just goes to, well, that might not be ever the case. You know what I mean? Like that might not be ever, like might never be the case for her to be a part of that group. But I think that's where it's a conversation with her partner of, all right, cool. Well, what is their group? You know, like what's that new season for both of them, not just her? Yeah,
she can't be, if they see each other multiple times a week, that's a huge portion of your social load. Or your social schedule. And so if she's not welcome there, if she's not treated kindly there, and if it's, again, projecting the 5 years time thing, where do you want to be in 5 years time? If they want to have a community that is both of their community, then they need to have that conversation and see what needs to shift in terms of either maybe having a conversation with his friends and saying, hey, what's going on here? Is there you can't change the friends being friends with the ex for one thing. That's never going to change. But could you change them not being horrible to her? Like talk to her or engage with her. And if that's not going to shift, then make something change in terms of your community. Find stuff together, build your life together. I think this is a common thing when you get together with someone. You have to you bring in your own lives, but you also start to build your own life together as a couple. And that's a really important part of growing closer together.
Yeah. And as well, some things do take time as well. You know what I mean? You can do different strategies as well. So is there something where, you know, the partner can do a double date?
Yeah.
You know, and you start small. You get to know one person, or like one couple, and then another couple, and then you get to know them and
that's
things.
A good idea.
It could really help as well. So break down, because group mentality is a big thing. You know, we've just been reading about that before. Like this whole group thing, for her to come into that group is going to be very, very hard. Like we found this going to church. Like you go to a new church and a lot of people have their group. So you coming into that is really hard. But what you do is you do the one and then you do the next one, and then you get to know them on a personal level. Then you might not necessarily be in the group, but you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and so, anyway, there's different things you could do.
That's a really good practical way of doing it. All right, last story. My girlfriend's friends hate me. A few weeks ago, I met my girlfriend's friends for the first time. It wasn't a bad time at all, and they came across as very nice. Personally, I liked them, and I was really happy about this because for me, it's a big deal how my partner's friends see me or what they think of me in general. So at first glance, it seemed fine. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks after meeting them, my girlfriend and I had an incident where we talked about her going on a trip with her friends. The friends she was going with are all guys, so I told her of course she can go and I wouldn't forbid it from her, but overall I felt kind of uncomfortable with it. In the end, it's her decision and I can't change that. She decided that she respects me and my boundaries and told her friends she wouldn't come. She explained that I felt uncomfortable, but that she still could have gone if she wanted to. She just chose not to. A few of her friends immediately took it as if I'd forbidden her from going and that I'm a toxic guy. This has been an ongoing issue. My girlfriend has tried addressing it multiple times, but they just shut it down. They've made up an opinion about me and therefore don't like me. Any attempts to explain are brushed off or ignored. At gatherings, birthdays, and other events, her friends don't say hello to me, don't talk to me, and they talk behind my back. These rumors have spread, and there are only a handful of people who still think I'm a good guy. This makes me really upset, and I don't know what to do. They won't accept the truth and aren't open to changing their minds. What can I do to make them really like me again? Honestly, I don't even want them to like me. I just want them not to hate me or treat me badly.
Straight away, I'm like, man, they just need to grow up.
The friends.
The friends just need to grow up. This is a maturity thing. I don't know. This one's a hard one because I'm like, dude, if this is quite mature response of like, all right, cool, I want to do something about it.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, dude, cut your losses. Don't worry about it. Find other friends. Like, put your efforts elsewhere. Like, again, you don't have to be friends with everyone. They will grow up one day, hopefully. But at this stage, like, that's their problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one, I don't have much of a sympathy towards the friends side of things. I'm like, no, they just need to grow up.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure because it says that he met the friends, I thought female friends. And then it says she was going to go away and they were all guys.
I completely get that. I would not want you to do that.
Oh, no, I'm the same. But I'm wondering if these friends are just guys. And if that's the case, it feels like
they are just guys. That's what it says. Yeah,
so the
they're
friends,
always guys.
for the whole story until just then, I thought it was female friends not liking him. Now it's guy friends not liking him. That makes me feel even more so like, just grow up.
Yeah.
It's like,
so he's 21, girlfriend's 20, and her friends are between 18 and 22. This is an age issue.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're in that age bracket, like this is not the way to handle a situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, again, through conversation and even in friendship circles, like, all right, so like intimate relationship, right? You want to be supportive, you want to encourage, you want to have a level of empathy and understanding, an attitude of curiosity. Any other relationship is very similar, right? Have an attitude of curiosity, support the person. Like, the friends are the ones that are being toxic here, in my opinion. And I don't know. There's not much
Blair
more.
ain't got no time for it.
Sometimes I have an what do you call
Unfiltered?
it? Unfiltered frustration towards some behaviors. And sometimes it's not called for, which is something I've got to work on.
Yeah. So when you're navigating these things, as we've seen all different angles from these, I just want to say actually for that last story, there would be instances where you do start to see red flags in a new partner with a friend, like a friend's new partner, and them trying to control what they do or like pull them away from friends. That isn't what happened. It sounds like that's what they're trying to make it sound like.
Yeah.
So don't ignore those. I don't want to pretend like it never happens in a negative way. The story didn't happen that way, but that's something that you have to be aware of as a friend and as a partner coming in. Anyway, when you're navigating these friendship things, obviously it's so complex because of the history and the stories we've just read through, but it's not necessarily yes or no. It's not like, yes, I'm friends with them, or I break up with them and I never see them either. I think there's a conversation to be had with your partner when you're navigating these things. If you've recognized actually it's not the most healthy dynamic and we need to work on it, there's a few different layers of influence that friends or any relationships have over you. So there's the circle of influence, there's a circle of access, and there's a circle of exposure. So influence would be the core little thing. Who has voice in decisions, emotional access, and shaping of your values? The next layer out would be access. Who gets regular presence in your life? And the next layer out is exposure. So occasional contact and limited influence. And I think that's a good framework for having this conversation with your partner and being like, where do we need these friendships to sit in a way that's going to be healthy? Are these people we want to be influencing? Like those 5 people, the 5 closest people? Are they the ones we want in this little core internal circle? Or do we need to maybe slowly transition them out to one of the outer rings where we're not cutting them off unless they're fully toxic. We're not cutting them off. We're just assessing what influence they've got over us as individuals and our relationship. And I think that's a good framework for having that conversation. There will, like we said, there's so many things that go into the context. So you're not necessarily just going to have a calm, peaceful conversation about it or be on the same page. And so that attitude of curiosity is huge. If you've noticed an unhealthy friendship dynamic or you're not feeling safe in the friendship dynamic of your partner, it's really important to communicate that. But it's also really important to come in recognizing this is their special people and there's context you're not going to understand. So just the gentle, curious approach is really helpful and important. And the same thing as the partner who's receiving potential concerns from their partner about their friends. Be curious, like what is going on? And maybe even taking time to reflect and be like, actually, yeah, do I feel the same way as I eat Macca's like 5 times a day? Am I feeling crappy? Am I feeling bad? Or am I feeling uplifted? And take it as a moment to reflect gently in things you might not even be aware of. Because when we get into good rhythms with relationships, it becomes a really subconscious thing.
Yeah.
So you might not even have spent that time looking into whether it's healthy or not. So there's a bunch of stuff for working through this, and there's probably more practical things we could dive into, but as is the pattern so far in season 3, we've run out of time. But that's what happens when you love your partner, but you don't like their friends.
Yeah, just love them and then don't hate them.
Well, Blair has totally lost it.
Yep.
He's already in his next meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to go into a meeting. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We will chat to you next week.
Good chat. Oh, no, the wrong one. No, yeah. Bye. That was so fun.
Oh my gosh.